Welcome to Access with Liddy. On today's podcast, we are speaking with founder of Livindi, Rick Watkins. Rick, it's so fun to have you with us today. We're excited about the conversation we're going to have.
All right, Liddy, thanks for having me today. I'm excited. I know we met a few months ago. It was great meeting you back then, and I'm happy to reconnect and spend some time with you today.
Can you tell us a little bit behind the story of Livindi and what sparked you to start the company?
Yeah, so we're looking to change the way people think about and solve the issue of senior mental health. So I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. I started my first company when I was 10 years old.
Oh,
I've kind of grown bigger and bigger one since then. There's a couple things that happened in my personal life. I watched my grandparents try to age in place. And so I watched my parents just trying to figure out how to navigate, what to do when you have a senior who's alone, who's trying to be independent and really needs help, but doesn't want to say they need help. And I saw two paths. I saw my parents, one of my grandparents took a path of going into senior living and another one moving into my parents' house. And both were really difficult and disruptive. So I saw a need in the market for something that would help people in both those situations. So I started Livindi.
Yeah.
And started in about 2017, and it's been going strong since.
What were some of the things that you're like, what are the must-have items that we need to have or features that we need to have in order to make sure that this is not only meeting the needs of this aging population, but also meeting the needs of the caregiver?
Yeah, and so because each of them needs a different thing.
Yes.
So and sometimes those things fight with each other with who needs what.
Yes.
But if you look at the family, what they want, they really want peace of mind. They want to know that if there's a health issue, that somebody's going to tell them about it. It'll get escalated to them. They want to know if there's a mental health issue now. Those mental health issues, they pretty quickly become physical issues.
Yes.
And so if you're a caregiver, you just want to know those things are taken care of. Now, if you're a senior, if you want a way to engage, you want to stay part of your family's life, especially if they're remote, and you want someone to talk to in a lot of cases. I mean, everybody experiences that anxiety and loneliness. And so you need something that'll do that for them. Now, if you're an assisted living community, you need something that kind of has a way of managing all of your patients. So how do you interact with them? How do you know how all of them are doing? If you have 100 beds, how do you know, if someone hasn't gotten out of bed? How do you know if someone has a health issue? How do you know if someone's therapy is being missed, et cetera? So we came with all those requirements and boiled them into this one solution. It makes us different. We have all these things in one. So we have the mental health, we have the physical health, all in this one consumerized product. What a lot of people did before is they would come in with one solution. So you might have a person that would come in and think about, wear an Apple Watch, and you get that information. Then someone say, like, put a temperature sensor in the house and put a motion sensor. And if you're actually using that, you'd end up with 10 apps on your phone trying to figure out what everything means. It doesn't work. So what we did for all these groups is something that's just really easy, combine one solution that becomes a platform then for solving those problems that they have now, but also for delivering other things in the future.
So I really appreciate that. I appreciate that you decided to explore this idea that you had and make it into something, because I think a lot of times we tend to be like, I don't know if it's going to work out. But being the serial entrepreneur since 10 you are, I could only imagine there's a lot of things that you need to explore that you haven't yet.
One thing that's funny about this business too. So I've had many different companies, and people get excited about the technology, and I had millions of users on the stuff that we built. This one though is the first company I've done where the customers hug me, which is just odd for a technologist. They've actually get hugs, get people saying, I can't live without this. Thank you so much for doing this, and it's just totally different feeling than anything else I've ever worked on.
What I'm hearing is you are doing what you were meant to do, and having this product is definitely one of them. So I'm going to move on to the second question, which kind of ties into you getting hugs as the founder of this product, is from the outside looking in, what is the obvious impact that you wanted to have with Livindi? Like,
there's 12 million seniors that have mental health issues that probably aren't getting treatment. They don't have access to it. There are any number of reasons. So the impact I want to make is take that group of people and just help them, because it's funny. Like, you can just spend 20-minute session with somebody. So I've seen our therapists do that. They'll spend 20 minutes, once a week, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, and it changes the people's outlook so much. and we hear from their families, we hear from the directors at the homes that they live in,
Mm-hmm.
that it's just changed the way they've interacted with people. It's changed their outlook. It's changed how their activity levels, and it's just made them happier. And if I can become synonymous with, when someone sees that problem, then I can check that box and maybe start my next company and get other hugs. But that's the box I want to check.
I do not doubt that will happen. One of the things that come to mind is individuals living in rural areas. I can only imagine with having seniors in rural areas. What have you seen as far as Livindi being used in those areas, or is there a challenge that you're really hoping to overcome?
Yeah, it's a big problem. I mean, everybody living in rural areas, it's
Yeah.
tough to get medical,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a perfect use case for what we have,
Mm-hmm.
like because we're not relying on infrastructure other than electrical outlet, and
Okay.
the internet connection. And
Okay.
so, the internet connection, we use cellular. Well, you can use it if they do have Wi-Fi. We can use that. A lot of times they don't in some of the rural areas, so they'll have
Mm-hmm.
really poor internet. But the cellular is pretty good now throughout the
Mm-hmm.
throughout the U.S. at least. If we could, and hopefully the laws change back to what they were during the emergency, during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But if we could deliver teletherapy across state lines with therapists,
Huh.
who may not be licensed in the other state, which was
Yeah.
allowed during COVID, it
Mm-hmm.
would help that because sometimes it's difficult to find therapists in a state, especially if you have a highly rural state. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to find therapists there, but that's the only way you can actually deliver services that can be reimbursed
Yeah.
is to have them. So I think as the Medicare rules evolve, that will help that problem even more so
Yeah.
than our platform does.
Mm-hmm. As I feel like what tends to happen, and I may be going on a rant right now, but I feel like what tends to happen is when the people in office are experiencing what we are experiencing, you see more uptick of things being pushed, such as
Yeah,
behavioral health, mental health. And even those I've seen more conversations about individuals identifying as being a caregiver in the past 2 years than I've seen before. And it's because the population or the generation that is aging right now are the individuals who are now having to take care of their parents, having to experience having children going through school during in the midst of COVID. So it's like, hey, we need to do something. This
yeah,
can't be it. And we are also that generation, I'd say, that is also the ones creating things, the one who's willing to try new things. And so if, you have a product like yours, like Livindi is just like, hey, we have a product that can help you not only check in with your family member, provide them with therapy, but also give you peace of mind. Do you want to try it? And people are like, yes, sign me up. Where?
yeah, yeah.
Like, are you guys looking at employers having the opportunity to have this as a benefits part of their benefits package, to be like, hey, we understand some of you guys may be caregivers. This is a benefit package that you can opt into, um, like moving forward.
Yeah,
What are your
yeah.
thoughts
No,
on
that's a
that?
great question. We do. We actually have
Hmm.
some partners that offer this as part of a benefit package.
Okay.
So we have partners that employers have hired to provide other services for seniors and other caregiving services for kids too, and
Mm-hmm.
we're an offering that they push to the employers. But
Okay.
it's a perfect place, and we've talked to a number of companies about
Mm-hmm.
doing that,
Mm-hmm.
about us being the provider for their senior or the people who are caregivers. Now the funny thing is with caregivers, like that mental health piece,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I remember my parents when they were living with my grandmother. She started to get dementia, and just the stuff that happened was really difficult. And
Yeah.
it was and she would coming in and out of lucidity, and the impact of that on the caregiver is just enormous. It's
Mm-hmm.
such a it was such a downer for my parents watching them try to deal with that situation. So if you can bring in a therapist to help the senior with that problem, and
Mm-hmm.
help at least mitigate it, and also sometimes what happens with that therapy is they'll talk to the caregivers to let them know there's some things that you would never think
Mm-hmm.
about. Like for example, one of the things that came up in one of the discussions actually with my clinicians about a week ago was they were trying to they were trying to coach the caregiver. It was the daughter in this case, to
Mm-hmm.
say, all right, when your mom tells you or asks you about your brother, she had a brother who had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
When she asks about the brother, don't tell her that he passed away because she's
Mm.
going to forget in an hour. Now, the daughter never knew that. So the caregiver, or sorry, the therapist said, look, you got to just go with it and say, oh, yeah, he's coming tomorrow. You're going to see him tomorrow. because it makes the mother happy. Because if you tell her these sad things that she doesn't remember, she just keeps reliving them over and over
Yeah.
again. It's like a
Yeah.
horrible process. And so stuff like that, the therapy can help the caregivers too. And so that's part of the reason why, as an employee benefit, it's huge, because it's going to help them be less distracted at work.
Yep.
It's going to help them. The stats on there are huge. It's there's 40 million workers in the U.S. who provide more than 18 hours a week providing unpaid therapy. And so if you can help those guys just be less distracted because they're not worried about mom, with dementia asking this thing, you can help them because you're at home. You can just flash a look at your phone to figure out, are they okay? Do they wake up? How are they doing today? It makes a huge difference.
Question to you, Rick. If you can summon the full power of our social media community to assist with one or two things that you want, what would they be?
And so there's really three targets that we're looking to help educate on what we can do and how we can help them. So first, you have home care agencies. So people that are going out there, they have a bunch of patients, a bunch of people they take care of. We could immediately ship kits out to people that they're taking care of and deliver our mental health solution to them and let them use the platform to do their delivery of services. Second group we're looking for are our senior living communities. So same thing, huge communities, they have a real tough problem with workforce. They don't have enough employees. They typically don't have enough clinicians to deliver things like mental health therapy. So second way, we can really come in there quickly and solve these problems by sending a bunch of kits in. They get all the boxes, they open them up, they turn them on, they're getting therapy. And then on top of that, the senior living communities, again, are using the platform to do delivery of their services to check on their residents. And the third one is hospital discharge. So we want people in the hospitals, when they're discharging, we want them to have a pile of kits. They send the person home with a kit. And when that person goes home, they're not alone. They have a therapist then that's checking in on them a couple times in that first 30 days and really making sure that their experience in discharge goes as smoothly as possible.
Thank you, Rick. You heard that from Rick, you guys. How can we help?
And thanks, Lydia. Thanks for having me today. I'm so glad I met you a few months ago. It's been great. So people can visit us on our website at www.livindi.com, Livindi. They can also email me directly, and I'm simply rick@livindi.com.
Comment below with any recommendations that you have for Rick. Till next time, see you later.